Good morning, I'm Anna Palmer.
And I'm Jake Sherman.
And welcome to the Daily Punch, brought to you by Punchbowl News. It's Thursday, August 13th, 2026. Let's get into the mix. Here are your Washington headlines of the day. Number one, the hot summer of data center politics. Number two, more on Schumer's blue wave scenario. And number three, is there a new path for tax provisions? All right, Jake, let's get to it. We have been talking amongst the two of us with the team about data centers and how they have become a major issue in this political election, and certainly I think tee up a massive kind of touch point in the 2028 cycle. But a really smart look here, just kind of codifying how data centers are something that both the right and the left are using right now when it comes to election ads.
Yeah, it is shocking to see. Candidates, listen to this stat. Candidates for House, Senate, and governor have aired nearly 4 dozen broadcast TV ads mentioning data centers this cycle. That's according to our friends at Ad Impact. The partisan split is nearly even. 22 of the 43 ads were from Republicans. The remaining 21 were from Dems. The ads ran in 21 different races in 18 different states. That's kind of wild. Not, and we talked about this. We've written about this before. We talked to the president about it last week. There's a lot of politics with data centers. It goes to the anti-tech kind of line of thinking. Let's say it goes to NIMBYism. There's a energy politics that we will be encountering, and so it's just kind of all over the country on every issue. And these states, Maryland, Wisconsin, Texas, Wyoming, and Washington State, Ohio, all over the country, and our people are running ads anti-data center and against people who have supported data centers before.
Yeah, I mean, the headwinds here are pretty strong, a physical manifestation of, the country moving away from the working economy, right? The people's economy. There's a lot of, it's interesting because you see both Republicans and Democrats equally looking to use data centers to their benefit. Brendan, Allie, and Diego really have the starkest example in their reporting in Ohio. Here's an ad from Sherrod Brown. I'm Sherrod Brown. I'll require the data centers to pay the full cost of their electricity, not you, the former Ohio Democratic senator running to come back to Washington said in one recent ad. This is, of course, he's trying to hit John Husted, who, as lieutenant governor until 2025, pursued major data center deals. This is going to be an issue that you can see come up in ads, on the campaign trail, certainly in debates as well. I mean, I think the question is going to be, do Democrats or Republicans have an answer here? And I mean, the biggest question is, what do the platforms do? How do they answer when everybody's against you? That's a tough place to be.
But the politics is complicated in another way. The unions oppose pausing construction of data centers because that means jobs in many cases for union workers. And there are these data centers, whatever you want to say about the energy side of it, the NIMBYism of it, they do create jobs in districts and they do create tax revenue for the places that they are being built in. So and by the way, I'll also add this: we're only at the beginning of this.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? We're only at the way beginning of this, of the politics of this and the reality of this, because there's going to be data centers all over the country going forward, and I think that's going to be there's a lot more of this game to be played. Let's just say that.
Absolutely. A very interesting look here. I encourage you to read this whole item because it also looks at some of the challenges,
yeah, it's really good.
That to your point, it's not a clean cut issue for either side. There are kind of, varying interests about this, the economic impact, the challenge of the race for technology with China, the kind of future of the workforce, Texas being a really kind of a place where this is being played out in real time. You've got President Donald Trump being super pro this because he wants to, he sees this as the race for the future of kind of the U.S.'s positioning in the global economy. So really worth looking. This is going to be an item and a storyline that we are going to be covering for quite some time. All right, Jake, let's move on to the number 2 story of the morning, Schumer's blue wave scenario. This might be some rose-colored glasses, but Democratic Senate candidates are overperforming in states the party had all but written off a year ago, giving them an outside chance at winning back the majority. Andrew Desiderio reports, talking about places like Ohio, Iowa, Alaska, and now in this interview, this is another excerpt from an interview that Andrew, Laura, and Brez did with Schumer, looking at the good old state of Kansas.
Color me very skeptical, Anna, that Democrats are going to win in Kansas. But they have a candidate that they like in Adam Hamilton, who is a pastor and is running against Roger Marshall. Andrew makes the case, and he's not saying, we're not saying he's going to win. Andrew's just writing about what Schumer thinks is possible. Hamilton runs 9 churches where about 25,000 people hear his sermons every Sunday. That number swells to 100,000 during major holidays. And in Schumer's view, you can't paint every state with the same brush. And he's a seasoned politician, Hamilton, running against Marshall. And listen, Hamilton is not your kind of traditional. I mean, he's I don't know what a traditional Democrat is anymore, but he's not your, it's not like somebody running in, New York. But he does have, he is talking about a lot of the things that Democrats are talking about, from tariffs to Medicaid cuts. So listen, the best, I, again, don't know what's going to happen, have no idea, but this smells like, and Andrew gets to this, it smells like a play that will force Republicans to maybe spend some money in Kansas if this guy is raising a lot of money and Democrats are spending some money there, and it's competitive rather than something that they could win. But hey, listen, weird things happen. I don't know if it's a really good year for
years,
Democrats.
Jake, that's the important number. 90 years since Kansas has sent a Democrat to the Senate. That's a long time. Of course, they do have a governor, Laura Kelly, a Democrat, one in 18 and 22. But I just think important to put in context.
It's different. Some states elect Democratic governors and never elect any Republicans to the Senate. Some states elect Republican governors and never elect any Republicans to the Senate. Massachusetts, for example. So, anyway, we'll see.
Interesting item, especially just as we think about Democrats trying to kind of open the playing field as much as possible. All right, let's run to the number 3 story of the morning. Is there a new path for tax? That is the question that Laura Weiss is asking this morning. Really interesting item here about how the Senate quietly sent the House 2 bills with a bipartisan tax or trade provision tucked inside. It's a narrow opening, but it suggests a new path for policies that have struggled to find a way forward. She reports, very interesting, because there's obviously been this big effort on reconciliation a couple times over in Congress this cycle. But there's sometimes, you look to try to put little riders on and find ways in for policies that are important to different constituencies.
Yeah, the tax stuff has been notoriously difficult, almost impossible, Anna. But the CR carried a GOA, which is an African trade program and another 2 African trade programs. And the second bill carried, the Senate Russia sanctions bill, carried a $650 million tax break for early childhood educators who buy their own classroom supplies. That is a Susan Collins special. She got that in the bill. The bigger point here to keep in mind is that these tax and trade typically do not hitch a ride on bigger bills, because then everyone starts saying, well, how about my tax provision? How about this tax provision? How about extending this, that? But that happened here. I think this is a fascinating item for our readership, because could it be a new way to pass trade and tax bills? I don't know. It seems possible, but it could be a one-off or a two-off in this case. But very, very interesting in the grand scheme of things on Capitol.
All right, we are going to leave it there. Thank you so much for listening, watching. We appreciate it. If you like the Daily Punch, share it on social media. Tell your friends. It's the best way to find out about us. And of course, you can go deeper on all things Punchbowl News at punchbowl.news. Have a great day and stay safe, everybody.